Back in the game, YusefWateef, good evening for the dozens and dozens of people on YouTube and everyone around the world. I've always wanted to say that like I was at some kind of a big sporting event. I don't know.
Close enough. Close enough.
Well, listen, you know, whenever you and I chat, we hear a bunch of the small people in the background generally creating havoc, woe, and dismay. And I thought, who better to talk to us about something that's come up a lot recently as homeschooling. So for everybody who doesn't know, this is our favorite leather mermaid, Letitia, and lives in a tiny house. And this sounds like a nursery rhyme or a story about a woman named Letitia, a leather mermaid living in a tiny house, teaching her family the wonders of the woods and the world. Somebody's going to write that and they better pay me. Brother Maurice Delk, how you doing, brother? Glad to see you. Thank you for popping in. Please be sure to share this. Howard Cooper, longtime friend of the team. Make sure you share this on your Facebook as well. Reigning woman, one of the most awesome people anyone, anywhere could ever hope to meet. And one of the things I always do whenever she pops in is I show everybody her station as well, because we live in a world where everybody can be friends and everybody can have 2 or 3 people that they like to do online. So I'm going to show everybody her channel so that you can go on and become part of her team as well. Look at that. You know what, Letitia? You and her might actually get along with some chats. You know, she's got that cool, calm, collected, feminine energy.
I like that color scheme too.
Yes, it's your favorite. It's your favorite ocean color scheme.
Indeed.
But I want everybody to go check out her channel and make sure you subscribe, please. But yeah, what I wanted to ask you about was something that I hear people talk about it with a lot of prejudice. And as I rapidly approach maturity, I want to know. I don't have any kids, but I'm at that point in my life where a lot of my friends are dealing with things with their children that are making them explore homeschooling. They're saying, look, I don't like the environment my kid's in. I don't like the other kids my kid is around. I am 10 times smarter than my kid's teacher. And that's not an insult to teachers. It's that the hiring standards have become so low, and so many of the good teachers go on to other professions because they are not paid adequately, that public school is almost like a joke in some areas. I mean, have you been there?
I think it really depends on the area that you're in too, because schools are funded based on the, like the tax bracket that the area that they're in is in. So if you are fortunate enough to live in a county or municipality that has a high tax rate, then you have better schools because they're better funded. So it's really kind of a class distinction too, just depending on the quality of education that you receive in a public school.
For a lot of people who live outside the United States, as more and more of my team are, a lot of people don't know that the school you go to is funded by your tax dollars. So if you live in a wealthy neighborhood, you get great schools with all the books they need, small class size, a respectable student to teacher ratio. But if you live in a working class or below working class area, you get nothing. You get less than nothing. You get almost a level of education that will never be competitive, even though we have what we like to believe is anyone can go to college. Not if you came from a place that didn't have as much educational background. If you came from a place where the teachers were not paid adequately, so they left. If you came from a place where the teachers didn't feel safe, it could be that's it for you. That's it.
Yep.
And so a lot of people do what you do, and that's take teaching into their own hands and say, I'm going to teach my children. I'm going to be my children's primary mode of education. But it's scary to a lot of people. It's really scary. What got you into it? And where do you start? If you say, I'm going to teach my children at home, well, let's start with the hard part. Let's get that right out of the way. What's the difficult part about teaching your children at home?
Choosing what kind of curriculum you wanted to do. because there's lots of different teaching styles.
You
And
take your own curriculum? I thought the state told you.
no, not, it depends on your state. So in a lot of places you can do what's called unschooling, which basically means you homeschool families are exempted from a lot of the state testing regulations that they have, because a lot of those are directly tied to the school's funding. So the kids have to teach a specific curriculum, because those are the exam questions that are going to be on the state test, and that's how the schools get funded.
Unschooling is an informal learning that advocates learner-chosen activities as the primary means for learning. That means the parents decide, not the kids, right?
It's kind of both, because
Really?
I kind of did some unschooling with my son, and when we decided to go to public school this year because he wants to go and live with his dad who lives in a city, he was testing at 9th grade levels, and he's in the 5th grade.
Wow.
So it really allows, for me, what it did was kind of open up his curiosity, because I wasn't limited based on, oh, you can only learn this much of a specific topic. I let him follow his own curiosity. Like if he's interested in something, then I let him kind of like decide within this topic, like, you have to teach science and mathematics and history, American history, world history, those kinds of things. So like with him, he really is into mathematics and science. So I think we stopped he was taking pre-calculus and physics by the time he started testing for public school. And because he was interested in that, I let him pursue it and decide which topics that we focused on.
Wow. And when you do this, how does the state, okay, this is what I understand. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. The state says, we want your kid in school, not only to teach them, air quotes, but because if your child is in our school, we get a certain stipend from the federal or state government that pays our salary.
Yeah.
So the bigger schools get more money.
Well, they get, I'm not exactly certain on the rules about that, like per student or how much they get per student, but I do know like it's like a cumulative average of the test scores. Like in Tennessee, we have the TCAP system. So at grade level, so it's for the entire grade in a specific school has to reach a certain benchmark score. For them
is that the No Child Left Behind, where everybody has to?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, it measures absolute score, not relative score. So a child could go from a 0 to a 5, but if the benchmark is 7, he still fails. And the child who went from a 6 to an 8 is the only one that counted as having advanced.
Right.
Huh. What were the primary reasons you didn't want your kids? I mean, you just gave a bunch of good reasons. Why didn't you want your kids there? Why did you feel they were better at home?
Well, part of it was I started pursuing it when I was doing my own kind of work from home and digital nomad journey. And my thought was, if I'm already in a situation where I can spend more time with my children and they're school age, what's one of the things that I really liked about school? I liked field trips. I like going and doing hands-on learning. And since I was able to be home with them and kind of manage my schedule and my day, then I can say, okay, well, Tuesdays, we're going to go on field trips every Tuesday. So I can take the kids to the art museum, take them to the STEM and STEAM programs, Creative Discovery Museum, go to the parks, or, if they're interested in a specific thing, we can go and explore that thing. So to me, it was kind of integrating my life so that if I decided we wanted to move, I needed to travel for work, I wanted to leave the country and take them, then I could take them with me. And our life would be about exploring and adventuring and learning, and also having the flexibility to enrich their lives while I worked. So that was kind of my big thing about why I chose to do homeschool.
You just made a light bulb go off because you said about traveling. Because as you know, I live in Brazil, where the cost of living It's pretty awesome. You could conceivably bring the team here and with a laptop still have your same teaching.
Yeah.
Everything. You could be anywhere in the world.
It's consistent. Because basically, I mean, there's even public school. There's a public school that's an online school. You can choose now in the United States to go to K-12. And the student, they still have classes. They have like 4 hours a day of video classes with the teacher and the rest of the students on the program. But they're still based on laptop learning and that kind of thing. So you can, if you have to travel or if they have to go somewhere, then they're still doing stuff that's online. And that, but that's a public school. Like, you don't have to pay for that in the state of Tennessee. And I don't remember how many states there are in that program, but that's subsidized by the government in different ways too. So you don't even have to recreate the wheel to be a homeschooler anymore. Used to, you had to come up with the curriculum, you had to get it approved, all that. But now you can sign up for K-12 and it's...
Is there like a main website for homeschool curriculum?
I mean, there's several. I mean, K-12 is one. I use Khan Academy, which I know people have probably heard about because they have university classes for free. But they go all the way, now they've opened up the elementary. So that's one of the ways that...
And for the people watching, some of you who know me and know some of what my friends and I call secret ninja training, we use MOOC classes, massive open online courses, and things like Khan Academy, which is world renowned. Khan Academy is a place that, for a lot of Americans, they don't necessarily need it. Khan Academy gives full educational resources for free that any teacher can take, copy, and use in any classroom, and I mean legitimate educational resources, everything from a curriculum for a teacher to testing. If you were someone who lived in a very small village in the northeast of Brazil where it is desolate and hot and they may not have, or you live in a community of people who don't have the resources that big cities have, your entire school, which may only consist of 50 kids, could be done by Khan Academy. Or it could be somebody like you who said, I want to teach my children and I'm just going to teach them at home. So this kind of takes away from something delicate that I was going to ask, because I know you're an educated woman and a smart woman and a multilingual, well-traveled international woman, but there's no minimum, and I know somebody's going to kick my ass for this. Is there a minimum requirement for the adult in the room to teach their children?
There is in the United States.
Say again?
There is in the United States.
Okay. So there is in the United States. That means in the US, you have to pass what?
When I looked into it, I believe you had to have at least a high school diploma or GED.
That's it?
Yep.
Am I being classist?
I mean, no, but for homeschool, like, that's one of the requirements, at least in the state of Tennessee. I obviously can't speak for all states because I live in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains. And that was one of the requirements, but I have a master's degree, so that wasn't an issue.
Am I being classist in thinking that not everyone who graduated high school has what it takes to teach a child?
Not everybody who graduated with a master's program has what it takes to teach a child. Some people don't need to homeschool their kids. It takes a lot of patience. It does, because you're still in a situation where, like in public school, you get breaks from your kids. They're still people. Sometimes you need breaks from each other. I live in a tiny house. Everybody in the house has their own space. That's really important. Knowing how to take a break when you feel frustrated is very important. So any communication stuff is very important when you homeschool, because you're not just the parent, still taking on another role. So you have to be able to work through your own frustration of if you and changing the way that you explain things, because just because you're the parent of someone doesn't mean you're explaining it a topic in a way that they understand necessarily. So you have to I think, do a lot of self-exploration about how do I explain this from an educational perspective that makes sense. Or one of the things I do, I mean, Google is a great resource for a lot of different things. There's educational resources all over the place. On my Facebook page, I posted actually quite a few things over the past day or so about resources, free resources for people who are homeschool. I joined a bunch of groups. There's always suggestions that you can pull up for that. There's
For the people
also,
who are wondering, this was 7 months ago. You gave us a little tour of your tiny house. We don't have to revisit that, but I want everybody to go look at her tiny house. Everybody go look at her tiny house. My hair's
different colors now. I put different braids in.
Oh, wait, let me look. Those were yellow, and these are more... That's
There's
the same
7 different ombre colors in there.
A different what?
I said there's 7 different ombre colors. There's a blonde to blue to aqua. There's a blue to green. I don't know. There's tons. Took a bunch of time.
What does ombre mean?
It means it fades from one color to another color.
Listen, I think I'm a smart guy, but I know what I don't know. When you're like, there's 7 different ombres, and I'm thinking,
ombres?
No, I was like, you got a bunch of Mexican friends that came to visit?
I mean, yeah, like, but that's not about my hair.
Oh, here you go. You know what I'll do is I'll put that link here in the I'll put that link here in the chat for you. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Let me get there. Copy.
What are you trying to put in the chat?
Well, no, my buddy Expat Money Moves asked for the direct link, and I decided to go ahead and put that in the chat.
The direct link for the video from before?
Yeah. He wanted the direct link from the tiny house, and so I went in there and put that there. Okay, now
right on.
Back in the game. There you go. You got the link, buddy. Okay. So you've got a situation where you're with your kids sun up to sunset. They wake up and your teacher mom, then your cafeteria lady mom when you're cooking, then you're back to teacher mom again. And the whole time, huh?
It's way more organic than that. It's because I mean, with homeschool, you only have to have like actual classes 4 hours out of the day. So be that instead of like in public school, it's like an 8-hour requirement or a 6-hour requirement, I think. But like when you do homeschool, it's a 4-hour requirement. So each day you have to have 4 hours, and they don't even have to be 4 consecutive hours. You can break it up. So you could do like a lesson for an hour where they're doing reading, where you have story time. You can do an hour of, worksheets if those are things that you like to do, coloring. It depends on the age of your children and what your curriculum looks like. Of course, I have one that's preschool age, so I do preschool stuff with him now. And when my older son was doing homeschool with us, he had an hour of lectures and an hour of testing and works, and then he had a free hour to study whatever he wanted. And then we would have a discussion hour where we talked about what he learned during the day and, kind of adding that into the curriculum that we had set. And then once a week, we met up with a bunch of other homeschool families, and they had social time for the whole day. But we would usually do an activity like go on the nature hike and identifying trees and, some kind of prepper things like how to get fresh water and if you get lost in the woods, because we live in the Smoky Mountains, so there's lots of nature out here, and so we do a lot of that as well.
So your science/PE of just go walk through the woods and identify stuff?
Mm-hmm. I have a really close friend who is her favorite thing is mycology, which is the study of mushrooms, and there's tons and tons of natural, both
I
inedible
would
and
be
edible
terrified to
mushrooms
take
that
a
grow
child
here.
through touching mushrooms.
Huh?
I'll be terrified to take a child through there and say, look, touch this mushroom. That just seems like a good way to.
I mean, if you have an expert with you, that's something that you can do. I wasn't teaching that class.
Okay. Hey, you know what's safest. And so the upside, we got travel, can go places, can have class outside of class. But here's the big one. Who outside of your home verifies that your children are learning?
And well, they don't have to do the testing until middle school. So at the end of, I did mine under an umbrella program. So there is, I did mine through the farm out of Somerville, Tennessee. And you have to submit your curriculum and grading at the end of the school year or at the end of the quarter, depending on what you decide to do. And most of it is kind of free range until you get into middle school and high school. It's not regulated as heavily. But when you go through, like if you go through a program and that's something that you're concerned about, K-12 does all the testing. And then you, as a parent, are responsible to make sure that your child's where they need to be as far as their benchmarks and everything.
Well, listen, we wanted to keep this short. My buddy Expat Money Move said he's got a bunch of questions. Do you want to field some questions now, or do you want to do that another time? No, listen, you sound busy. I know that that's the
I've got a festival.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We will listen, why don't you just do this? Expat Money Moves, leave your questions as comments under that video, please. That's the smart move. I want you to leave your comments under that video. So we've shown everybody Khan Academy. That's the one you use, right?
I use Khan Academy and Shepherd Software.
Hold on. Shepherd Software, because I want to give people resources.
And Shepherd Software is like a lot of game-based learning. So they have different, little games based on age range and date range, and those are all free.
That's it?
Yep, that's it. You can pick your grade level, you can pick your topic, and there's games and activities in there, and those are all free as well. So Khan Academy and Shepherd Software, what we used a lot of. Also, on hands-on activities. And we did, and if you can search in your area, especially in the States, and there's always homeschool groups that you can join up with for social activities or for larger science things. And some of them even have associations where you can do team sports and things like that with your kids.
Well, and that's the other thing that you always hear about the boogeyman of, if you teach your children at home, they won't be socially acclimated. How do you combat that?
I'm weird, so.
Well, yeah.
This is the thing I'm going to say about it. This is the thing I'm going to say about it.
You're a very social mermaid, though. That's the thing. And I want to know, how do we, I say we like I got kids and I don't have any. How do you make sure that your children have those same social graces of just blending in mixed company?
Well, we do lots of social things with other kids. So my oldest is way more introverted than my youngest child. So I think you have to look at the needs of your child specifically and make the effort. A lot of people don't. That's one of the things that makes high school and middle school and everything really easy, because you're pretty much dropping your kid off. They're doing whatever all day long. They develop their own social cliques and whatever. And as a parent, you're busy working, doing whatever over here. And then you get home and you're like, how was your day? And your kid's like, like, whatever, mom. So to me, it was, like we create opportunities when we do activities with the other homeschool families. They still develop friendships. My youngest is having a play date with a neighbor right now. And so we still encourage that. I think it's really important to make sure that you as a homeschool parent do encourage that, because there's going to be people everywhere, even when you're not homeschooling. So some people choose to do it through elementary school and then put their kids in public school for high school, but then they know that they have a solid foundation. So that's really up to the parent.
So you got this pretty much covered. You gave us the resources. By the way, is there a standard way that you notify your schools if someone says, you know what, next year I want to do this homeschooling thing? How do you go about that?
Well, that's also a state by state kind of requirement. I know here we have to notify them if we're going to do homeschool by, it's like July 20th, before the upcoming semester starts in the fall, if they're going to be registered homeschool or public. And then, you just follow the steps. They give you a checklist. It's really easy. I mean, because you just have to search the requirements for your state or municipality where you live. And I mean, there's plenty of homeschool families. And I mean, homeschool used to be way more popular than public school. If you look up the history of the United States, there were some places where they had to go in and force the families to send their kids to public school because they wouldn't.
Really?
So we used to be an agrarian society. Everybody learned on the farm. Going to school was like, why would I do that when I need my 6 kids to help me with the harvest or everything?
Yeah.
And so people didn't send their kids to school. That's kind of a new phenomenon. Public school has not always existed. For the most of even the United States' history and human history, kids have been educated by their families. That's why educated people in Europe, their kids had tutors. Public school was not a thing that happened. That's recent. Huh. I think you have to do whatever goes best for you. But like I said, I think when you're a digital nomad and when you do work from home, it gives you more flexibility with how you structure your life in general. And for me, homeschool was a part of that. So,
we do need to go back one day and do another with your business and how you started your business from home and give people a refresher on that. I see a lot more people doing things from home these days that give them the freedom and flexibility, because you and I are people. I always give people the example that somewhere in my family generations ago, there was probably a guy who had an axe and he threw it over his shoulder and he went out in the world and made his way. And then maybe at another period, there was a guy who threw a rifle over his shoulder, one of my forebears, and then he went out in the world to make his way. Me, I can just throw my MacBook Pro in a computer bag and throw it over my shoulder and wander the earth righting wrongs, And
I can be doing jujitsu. To those who pass the line, jujitsu.
I don't know if your analogy works the same way, but I understand the spirit. I was going somewhere too. And I was, and for the people who watch me all the time, where I'm going with this. I was going to say, the thing I have in place of an axe or a rifle thrown over my back right now being my laptop, it's because I do editing, writing, copywriting, proofreading, anything that has to be done in university level English. My biggest thing right now I've been doing, I write resumes for people. I write and rewrite professional resumes to specific jobs and to specific careers. People hire me for that. I have had a landslide, I'll tell you what. There was a point where I was doing more editing people's books and editing people's writing. Now I am doing so many resumes, it's ridiculous. And I tell people, when you, by the way, my name is YusefWateef, catch me on LinkedIn. But when you find me, don't look at my resume first. I go all the way to the bottom and I say, start here at recommendations. I want you to look at what other business professionals the world over say about me. Look at what my clients say about me and my level of professionalism. And then I want you to go back and look at the resume so that when you contact me, you can do it with the full confidence of saying, he's everything he says he is. what I'm looking at now though is I'm just seeing that flood of and what I do ties into what you do as well, because you're a virtual assistant. And you run the backbone and the spine for a lot of companies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do human resources and executive assistant functions, recruiting.
Yeah, all the other stuff that's not in the limelight.
Right.
That's what, like I said, now that you got the house, that tiny house thing you got going for yourself, you got to do a world tour. We got to set you up a YouTube page and do a world tour with the kids, just homeschooling. I wonder how many other families would be up for that. Would be like, have this giant, you can start this giant homeschooling conglomerate and spend 3 months, maybe go to South America for a while, go to Asia for a while. We're taught everything there is.
I am working on passports. I got all the paperwork together. I've got to get mine renewed. And my almost 4-year-old needs one and my 11-year-old needs one. So that's in the works right now.
BK, thank you for telling everybody to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you. And I say that to say this. I didn't want to take up everybody's time tonight, and I appreciate you taking time out of your precious evening to come and hang out with me and give us a little insight into homeschooling. I think we got a chance to answer everybody's questions that were in the that was in the peanut gallery. Do you want to give us any parting words? You want to give us anything to go off? Any lies you want to tell? Rumors you want to start?
Lies and rumors. I don't know what you're talking about. I think homeschool can be a really awesome thing. It's just like anything else. It depends on how much you're willing to put into it. And I really think one of the things I love about it is just it's opened up a world of learning for my kids. And, to see, like my youngest right now is really into robots. So transformers, robots, anything mechanical. So I got him these transforming ABC robots that are like little ABCs that he can transform into little guys.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so he's in the back yelling for me to get the Transformer ABCs now. So I try to integrate whatever they're into in a way that makes it interesting for them.
And, I think about the big word that jumps into all of this when it looks at your lifestyle, the lifestyle I've created, the lifestyle I've helped a few people create, is we have an absolute freedom in life. Like you are in complete control of an absolute freedom in life. You'll be in control of where you want to be, where you want to do it, and more importantly, make sure your children are getting the best possible education they can from one of the people who actually care about them in life. Not some stressed out teacher who's not getting paid enough, but by somebody who can look at this child and say, my only question, I think this is where the last one is, I don't know, like if I had kids, I don't know if I would have the toughness necessary, because it's like, when your child is difficult.
I feel like you're mistaken.
Huh?
I said, I feel like you're mistaken. Mommy, yeah.
Can you give me my ABC transformers?
I will in a minute.
I just don't know that when you know that a child is having a hard time with something, to keep drilling them on it, that just seems like you got to really have it together to say, no, we're doing it again.
But I think you're also looking at it from a perspective of one specific teaching style. You don't have to do drills to teach someone something. If that's the best way that your kid learns, then that makes sense. But it's not how most people learn. Most people don't learn by just repetition or just, rote. They usually learn by a more organic process of curiosity. So think about the things that you have learned and had the most passion about. If you could integrate that into, whatever teaching thing that made stuff interesting for you, then that would have made your educational experience so much better, because you actually wanted to learn the thing because it was something you liked. I do think I'm going to have to go now because the toddlers are down here instead of in the loft.
All right. You have a great night. Thank you. I will see you back soon. Bye-bye.
Well, you have a great night.
Let's see. And for everybody else, thank you for, BK from the Rockies. She's raising her children to have a broader view of the world because they are not bound to a specific area. Her children will understand mobility and flexibility. Well said. And as I log off, I want to share with everybody, you saw it on my name, my Patreon account. I put together a few things for people that has become, I'm proud to tell you it's taken off. These are places where I can go deeper into issues that YouTube may not allow, and I'm able to do a little bit more one-on-one with people, especially at the arcane level. But go to patreon.com/YusefWateef, take a look at it, tell me what I can do to improve it if you think it needs to be improved. But if the things that I offer are things that will benefit you, sign up, let us know. A lot of benefits to it. So I say that to say this. Thank you all, and Ruby gave the seal of approval. I say thank you all, and I hope everybody has a great night. Love you all. Bye-bye.